Hey, it's Cobra here at MaddenTips.com, and for this video breakdown, we're going to take a look at how to bait your opponent into an incomplete pass or interception. In this particular Madden tip, I hope that it'll give you some idea of something you can do to try to confuse your opponent who's playing on the offensive side of the ball, because as we know, the offense always seems to have a little bit of the advantage, although I think this year defense has played a little better than years past, in my opinion. But, of course, I know others might argue with that. But at any rate, let's go ahead and get on the field because I want to show you this. And this is kind of cool. This is stuff I've done over the years, and it's definitely a way of confusing your opponent. And if you do it right, you can definitely do some things to make them not sure what the heck you got running on the defensive side of the ball. So let's go ahead and get on the field here and take a look at it. But before we do that, let's look at the plays we're going to run here for this breakdown. On the offensive side of the ball, we're going to run this particular play. It's called the pistol spread zone alert X smoke. That's on the offensive side of the ball. On the defensive side of the ball, we're actually going to run a couple defenses. One of the defenses we're going to start off with here is dime normal, cover 4 quarters. I just want to go ahead and show you this, and then I want to show you something you might consider doing if your opponent is picking up some yardage with this particular formation as far as on the defensive side of the ball. So let's go ahead and get on the field here and call these plays. And if I'm on the offensive side of the ball and I'm running this play and I look at what the defense is running here, the first thing that goes off in my mind, on all honesty, is the coverages. And I look at it and I look at those 2 outside corners, particularly this one over here, and you'll notice he's about 7 yards off the line of scrimmage. And for me, if I see that, I'm pretty much going to probably run the RPO and throw the ball and take the pass option and throw the ball out here, over here towards the left, and hit this guy. Now, of course, I've got to be hopefully that this receiver right here, as you look at it, this particular receiver gives me a nice block on that guy right there. We got to hope for that. Whether or not that'll happen or not, that's a whole nother story. But if I saw that, that's one of the things I would think about. On the other hand, if we come in here and I see this, and I see that they've got 2 deep safeties, then again, on the offensive side of the ball, if I was running this, I'd be looking at the numbers in the box, and I would end up seeing that this really favors me as far as on the offensive side of the ball, because they've got 5 players in the box, and then I've got 5 offensive linemen. I'll probably take my chances. I might even run the ball. So I have 2 different options with this particular play if I saw this type of coverage. So I'm going to go ahead and run it both ways here. I'm just going to go ahead and hand it off and pick up some positive yards, or 4 or 5 yards. So that's nice right there. Or I could run this on the I could also go ahead and throw the ball out here and just hope I can get a nice block. And then if I get a nice block, I can maybe pick up some yards out there. And a lot of times you might pick up something with this particular play. Just know that you have those 2 options when you run this particular RPO. This is kind of a 2-for-1 type deal because I'm showing you the offensive side of the ball. Then I'm going to show you how to counter this pretty quick. And as I said, and how to bait your opponent into throwing an interception. Let's go ahead and run it one more time here with this play. And you can see there, didn't pick up a whole lot there, but you got 2 different options you can do with that play. All right. Now, say they are having success with this particular play or some other formation they like to run, and they like to do some different things. Maybe one of the things a lot of guys might want to do is they might want to send a guy in motion. For example, here, we're going to go ahead and send, as you're looking at it on your screen here, we're going to go ahead and send this receiver in motion here towards the left side. And this is one of the things people do because they'll want to see if there's going to be man coverage or not. All right? Right there alone tells me it's zone coverage, because if it was man coverage, I can tell you right now, it wouldn't be that linebacker right there. As you look at it, this linebacker here following me across. So this tells me it's zone coverage. So again, on the offensive side of the ball, probably just going to go ahead and run it because I've got the numbers and I got a big old gap there to pick up some positive yardage. So if I saw zone coverage, I'd probably just go with that. Now, let's keep going on with this and keep looking at what's going to happen here. All right, so I just shown you there. Let's go in here on the defensive side of the ball and go ahead and call man coverage this time. We're running cover 2 man. I want you guys to go ahead and see it and what we're doing on the defense now. This is cover 2 man. So we're going to go ahead and look at the box again. Now, again, if you saw this particular defense, for me personally, if I saw that this guy was in man coverage or looked like he's in press coverage up here, I'm probably not going to throw it because there's a good chance it'll be picked off if I see something like that. So what I'll probably end up doing, if I don't audible out of this play, I just go ahead and run it and try to pick up some positive yardage there. I kind of messed up. I had a big old hole there, and I just didn't hit it. But at any rate, that's that right there. As far as what the defense goes. Now, the other thing I pointed out is a lot of guys will go ahead and send a guy in motion. So we're going to go ahead and send this receiver in motion across the field here. And there you go with that. Now watch what happened there. This time on this particular defense, if you remember earlier, the linebacker slid out when it was zone coverage. But since it's man, the inside defensive back to the right followed him over. Again, that indicates man coverage to me. So if I see that, I'm not going to run the RPO. I'm not going to run the pass option over towards the left. I'm going to go ahead and run the ball here and try to pick up what I can here. Boy, my running's not very good right there. But that's what I'm going to end up doing there is that I'm going to end up, sending him in motion. And if I can see that, I'm probably going to go ahead and go with a run, or I'm just going to audible out of the play. Let's see if we can pick up some positive yardage there. There we got 3 or 4 yards there. So that's definitely my train of thought when I see my opponent running something along this lines, and I can tell if it's man or zone coverage. Okay, so with all this said, let's do something here that's going to change things up, and it's going to confuse your opponent, and hopefully you can get a pick, especially if they were running something like this that you just saw on your screen here as far as what the RPO goes and throwing that pass play. So here we are in that zone defense I showed earlier. We're starting out in that quarters. But this time, I'm not going to audible in anything, but what I am going to do is if you don't have your base of line already set, remember if you guys go into the coast adjustments and it's set to default, you can set base of line to your default as far as they'll always come out in base of line. If you don't already have that, then obviously you can go in here and you can do it here. So go ahead and use your base of line. And I think one of you guys asked me why I always like to be in baseline. I prefer to be in it because you don't have to do this extra step, but you don't have to be in it. But keep in mind you can. All right, so there's your base of line, right? So let's go ahead and we see our opponent. We see our opponent send the guy in motion. Again, we see him sending this guy in motion here to the left. As we look at our screen here, let's go ahead and show the motion again here as you look at it. So say that this guy goes in motion and he goes over here like he did before. Remember that when we were in zone coverage, the linebacker, in this case right here, let's go back to the linebacker and look at him. This linebacker will slide over into this area here. So this middle linebacker would slide over. All right, if you go ahead and do this, I'm going to go ahead and send him in motion. And then if you're on the defensive side of the ball and you see this, you can audible into this defense, which now is man defense. And the cool thing is that linebacker never slid across. Also, this guy never came across. So it probably indicates to your opponent you're probably in zone coverage. At least that's what they're thinking. So if you were to run the play on the offensive side of the ball and you think they're in zone coverage and you see that this guy is lined up about 7 yards off the line of scrimmage and you're thinking you can get that screen, watch what happens here. There's your pick. And so what I'm trying to show you is that's a way to try to confuse your opponent. Use your base of line. You can disguise your man in zone coverage simply by using base of line. So that's really the whole point of this particular breakdown. I kind of wanted to show, the offensive play as far as running it and how it could be some success with it. But then I also wanted to show you a counter to it. And this is the counter, at least one of the counters. You can clearly see, if you're banking on that safety not being there, hopefully you're watching that safety if you're running this play, or not safety, but watching that corner and seeing him come up in a hurry. If he comes in a hurry, you better hold back and not throw that. But, some guys get happy on the trigger and they throw the ball and they end up getting that. So that's a way that you could possibly bait your opponent into either an interception or an incomplete pass. So that's really the basic breakdown of this. Hopefully this will be something you guys can look at, especially if you get some time to get into the lab and just take a look at it. This is stuff that I've done over the years where, I'll audible back and forth between man and zone, especially when my opponent starts using a lot of zone coverage, or not a lot of zone, a lot of motion to try to confuse them between zone and man coverage. That way they're not always tipped off. So that's something you can certainly do if you want to try to confuse your opponent. So again, this is how to bait your opponent into an incomplete pass or an interception. Hey Madden gamers, if you enjoy this Madden video or any other video, please subscribe to the Madden Guides YouTube channel. And as always, thanks for watching and for your support.